welcome back to Whisky Sticks Politics. And today, we're pouring up something aged over 20 years, just like the career of our guest here today. He's a man who's been seen in Durham and in their justice system from every conceivable angle, as a public defender, fighting for the vulnerable, a district attorney, restoring integrity to the office, and now as the chief district court judge of the 16th district. He's moved us from paper files to the digital age, but he's never lost his focus on the human element, tackling the root of addiction and fighting for juvenile reform. He's a Gamecock by degree, an Eagle by trade, and a judge who actually cares. And we're going to talk about what that means, C-A-R-E-S. So pour a double, light them up, and let's talk justice with the man who keeps Durham moving, Chief Judge Clayton Jones.
Thank you, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent today. I'm doing excellent. I know it's been a whirlwind of things happening for you so far in this campaign. And I just want to take a step back and let's just give the people what they want. Let's just address the elephant in the room, okay? And let's talk about the headlines that we saw at the end of last year. I have to say I woke up, it was any other day, and I'm going to tell you in real time how I felt. I saw face plastered everywhere. Durham judge arrested.
Judge for Durham County's district court finds himself on the other side of the law.
Yeah, Judge Clayton Jones Jr. is facing domestic violence charges linked to an incident that happened on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, Chris and Michelle, this alleged incident reportedly involves a woman with whom Judge Jones previously had a relationship. He is accused of hitting and grabbing the woman by the back of her neck at a local business on Kate Street and South Briggs Avenue on November 29th. Judge Jones denies the allegations and says witnesses will prove he did not assault anyone. Judge Jones deeply respects the court process and expects to be quickly vindicated in this matter.
Durham County judge has been found not guilty on domestic violence charges. Last month, Clayton Jones Jr. was charged with assault and domestic violence against a woman he had had a relationship with. At this time of his arrest, his legal team said it wasn't true, and today he was acquitted of all those charges.
But then, when I found out he was found not guilty, I'm looking for the case. I couldn't find nothing about it. That's interesting how that happened, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Take me back to that arrest. What happened, Judge?
Well, it was an unfortunate private matter between me and my now ex. And it took a life of its own, where on December 8th, I was charged, arrested, processed, like anyone else would be who would have that charge. And I wasn't treated any differently at that point. I was booked in Orange County Jail, but walking out and seeing the media attention was the most shocking and humbling thing that I ever experienced in my life. It's been an experience. I'm still recovering from it. But I have to understand, I still was blessed in the situation. There's so many who does not have the similar or same resources to be able to defend against anything like that.
Right.
I was fortunate enough to have the resources to retain an attorney. I was fortunate enough to have the resources where the matter was set for trial, and I went through the justice system.
Right.
Now, for the criminal matter, there was no continuances, so I think now as a judge, the impact that continues to have and the collateral consequences it may have and the impact that it has. So it's changed my perspective on balancing that role as a judge and a common everyday man going through life circumstances.
Let's talk about that, because you touched on something that everybody wants to know. How did it feel to be on the other side of that situation? Everybody wants to know, because you're used to judging, right? But now you're on the other side of that, and you're going to speak to us a little bit later about how that's affected you moving forward. But talk to us about that experience being on the other side.
I'm going to take it a step back further than that. I started my career as an assistant public defender. So I always sat to the right of those charged, and I felt that I was the voice for those individuals. Then my career, so I was at this next table. Now I'm prosecuting those who I sat next to.
Right.
Then after that, unfortunately, I've been a victim of crime before, so I've stood next to the ADA as we're discussing matters. And then to take it to the judge and sit there on the bench But I can tell you the hardest and most humbling place to sit is in that defense table. Your voice is limited. You can't talk about anything. You have to put your trust in your lawyers while maintaining your faith in God and trust in the system that even as a judge, you still have questions about. So it was the most difficult experience I've ever had. It led to many sleepless nights, heartaches, trials, tribulations, and it's still going, but we have a very powerful God.
Amen.
And he definitely brought me through.
Amen. And during the trial, there was significant attention regarding the allegations and the temporary protective order. How did you maintain your commitment to the Durham courts while navigating a personal legal battle that questioned your integrity?
Well, when the process happened, I wanted to be upfront with the administrative office of courts and all those involved. So I had no play in it. I was immediately placed on administrative leave.
Okay.
I was benched, placed on the sideline.
On the sideline.
Nothing I could do. I had to let the system play its way. And work has always been my safety blanket. I mean, I always got something to do with work. So all of that was taken away from me. So literally, I was a man. I was no longer a judge. I mean, on administrative leave, but I was a man charged with an offense, and I had to let it take its process. And talking about the integrity of the bench, I mean, I was convicted from the charge. And knowing that our justice system, we innocent until proven guilty, but that wasn't standard at all.
That wasn't the case.
No, I was guilty. I heard it. It was loud. It was vocal. And it had to take its course.
Right.
And it took its course.
Have you had a hard time addressing that dynamic, like dealing with the court of public opinion versus the actual outcome of the trial?
Well, like you spoke on earlier, the court of public opinion was very loud. Very loud. Before, because, there was laws in place. I mean, I was treated like everyone else. I had no bond. I didn't go through the process to get the bond set. Came out, didn't have my phone, turned my phone on. I didn't know if the phone was just vibrating that much, but it was all over the place. And then the media had already gotten hold of it, wanted to comment, and I didn't even have an opportunity to breathe at that point. I was like, I've never been arrested for anything in my life. And to go through that process, it's been eye-opening. Yes.
And to bring us bring us forward, because obviously found not guilty. And I know different outcomes can mean different things. State plainly for our audience, what were the findings of the court and why are you still in the race to be judge of Durham?
Well, I don't want to get into the findings of the court. I think that speaks for itself.
Exactly.
But why I'm still in this race, because experience matters. I've served Durham, and we alluded to my campaign platform, always had cares. And there's compassion, accountability, respect, efficiency on my years of service to Durham. All of my service has been to Durham. I have a servant's heart. When I got out of law school, I knew I wanted to be for the voice of those who didn't have a voice. So that's why I started in the public defender's office. And I think every great prosecutor should start out as a public defender, because you know the voice of the people. You don't want to overly persecute anyone, but you want to prosecute those violent crimes and things that need change, but don't want to really get into the low-level matters like what the root of it is, addiction or therapy or homelessness. You don't want to prosecute those things. So then when I became a prosecutor, I had that insight, and that gave me the balance where I can work with law enforcement and see what cases need to be addressed, those violent crimes, the drug sales, the guns, those things. And then to come to the bench after this 23 years of service, I wanted to bring both sides, but understanding you have to exercise compassion. Respect comes from the bench. I can't ask anyone in the audience, well, because I'm sitting up high, I mean, I should be treated with a greater level of respect. For sure. But I can't give that same basic respect that any other human being would deserve. And then I like courts to move along, because I can say from my own experience, delays have collateral impact. And the longer things go, the worse things get. And, you may not be able to return back to work. You can now resume no responsibilities. The public ridicule, those things go on until some level of closure happens.
Right.
And regardless if it's civil or criminal, families, individuals need closure.
Right.
So we can't, and I think back on times when it was a first time owning case and they're like, oh, well, we're just going to continue it to get some more things and see what happens.
Right.
Now, living it, I know the impact that has. And we have a greater responsibility to make sure if something is brought before the court, we can bring some level of resolution to it and maximize the time that we use in court.
I appreciate you bringing that up, bringing it to a broader level of responsibility. We know that domestic abuse is a very serious situation, and it's an unfortunate problem of our society. I know that Durham courts, members of leadership in the system, we have plenty of programs in place to aid women in those situations, and we want our audience and people everywhere to know that domestic violence is a very serious thing and we take that seriously. But fortunately, it did not have a place in our situation right now, right? We're moving past that, and we love that we're a nation to understand that after, once you're found not guilty, we can move on and you can get back to the work. Keep working for the people, right?
Yes.
Right.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. You know what? I'm not gonna lie, Judge. I was a little nervous putting these questions together for this part of the case. This part of the interview. Let's grab us a cigar.
Let's grab a stick.
Yes. Woo. What's a good cigar that you might grab?
I actually like the tobacco over here. I mean, I've been a good fan of it.
Okay, tobacco's typically a infused cigar, right?
Yes.
Yeah, tobacco. That's a good stick. Very nice flavor. They got a few different styles over here, I believe.
So we're going to go with this one right here.
All right.
That'll work for me.
There we go.
What's your brand?
So I do like tobacco. Tobacco is probably one of my favorite cigars. I have become a fan of the Valencias. And I think the Forte. I think that's the one I had last time. So I'm gonna go with that this time too. Let's go. Let's get ready for these. Yes, first.
Thank you, my brother. Now, Judge, I appreciate you answering those questions for me. I know they can't be easy, but I want to take a step back and introduce you properly as well, right? I hate for that to be the first introduction, but I want to talk a little bit about your matriculation. Went to the University of South Carolina for undergrad, right? Class of 2000. 2000.
Right. And then North Carolina Central University for law school. Talk to me about that transition coming from South Carolina to North Carolina for education.
Well, South Carolina, huge institution, a lot of resources. Everything was electronic. So, register for classes online without having to, wait in line for anything. It was more resources. But what was missing is the family environment. Coming to North Carolina Central.
I ain't talking about coming to Central.
You develop a family atmosphere, The professors knew your name. I mean, South Carolina, great. They knew your name based on your academic accomplishments. The Central got to know your name because you're an eagle. And they embrace you and they welcome you into the nest and met the great professors and those who take a genuine interest in your career, wanting you to become trial lawyer and invest that time in with you and making sure hey, get back on track. It's a bigger goal here. So the Central became the school I loved and gave me opportunity to do what I'm doing now.
Right. Now, for 15 years, you've been protecting the constitutional rights from the DA's office, right?
Yes, sir.
And there was a shift from defending clients with addiction to prosecuting homicides. Talk to me about those two different sides of justice right there.
Well, from the public defender's office, you're advocating for the defendant. You want to make sure their rights are protected. The system works and no one's rights are trampled. Shifting over to the district attorney's office, you realize the power that you have because you make the decisions. What charge is going to be brought?
Right.
What's going to be broken down? How are you going to proceed on those things? So you have a greater voice, and I'll say a greater responsibility because if the evidence doesn't fit, you don't need to charge it. But if you have the case, you proceed on the case because you still have to protect and advocate for victims' rights as well.
Interesting. That's a very interesting perspective. I've interviewed a district attorney, and she talked to me about vertical process and making sure that once a case comes in, one single person handles it from beginning to end, right? And I know you've done some revolutionary things here in Durham, moving us from, I believe, we were still doing stuff by paper and moving us into a more technological phase of public service. Talk to us about that transition and the hard work that you had to do behind the scenes for that to come to fruition.
That became the great leadership in Durham County. So I want champion as this solely mine. It's
okay,
Madam Clerk Amina Thompson.
Okay,
it's very clerk intensive
team effort.
So we have to, because it changed the whole process for the clerk. And she was instrumental in working with the senior resident and also working with Madam DA, Madam Public Defender, and making sure we got a cohesive unit to figure out how we was going to do this transition, and then developing local rules to make sure who's going to do what, how it's going to be done, so it can be done efficiently, because that's the system now for the entire state. And Durham County was in phase 2. So we started like in April of 2024, 23. So we were one of relatively early phases. There's only one phase ahead of us. So we had to make sure we had some guidance, but not a lot of guidance. But over the time, we worked out the kinks and quirks, and we're operating very well under this new enterprise justice system.
All right. So speaking of working out the kinks and the quirks, talk to us a little bit about some of the case flow policies that you've been able to implement as chief judge.
Well, one of the things we had was we had to reduce the number of continues to make sure a case gets closure. So we were mandated to do a continuous policy.
Okay.
And right now,
continuous policy.
Yes.
Let's back up. So the audience what a continuous policy is, and why would I need one?
Okay. So your offense comes in court, and we want to make sure we resolve everything that comes in from the first day you come in to closure within 150 days.
Okay.
And like I was alluding to with myself, it's the collateral impact that these cases have that's going on. So when something comes in, we try to, if you hire an attorney, we'll continue it out. You have your attorney there so something can be resolved and done with it.
Okay.
When you want a court-appointed attorney, it gives you the opportunity to apply for a court-appointed attorney, get it to the public defender's office, meet with your attorney so those cases can move along.
Well, continuous sound like a timeout or just an opportunity to get yourself together.
A time frame to prepare everything, get everything together. But we want to put a cap on it too, because we just don't want cases prolonged going on and on without being addressed or just the run of the course. Oh, we'll get to it.
Right.
Because like I alluded to, these cases have impact. Collateral consequences are attached. So we want to make sure we resolve them and bring closure. Like I'm speaking in the civil arena, criminal arena, but even in the civil arena, you want to make sure you resolve cases. So in criminal, it's 150 days. And civil, we want to make sure all family cases from the time it's filed and over is done in a year. And that from temporary to permanent custody. Again, families need closure.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that whatever happens, you know, how everyone's going to operate so we can rebuild that and establish that family unit back together.
Now, it definitely sounds like somebody that truly cares. And to speak of that acronym that you brought up, compassion, accountability, respect, efficiency, and service. How have you brought any of these terms? Give me an example of how you brought these terms into your courtroom.
Well, I'm one of 2 judges in juvenile court, the courtroom. And as you know, our juveniles, we have to meet them where they are.
Meet them where they are.
Meet them where they are. And we got to find out some level of interest that they have, because I'm a firm believer. If we believe we're going to resolve juvenile crime in the 4 walls of the courthouse, we're already losing. We have to be out in the community, serving our community. So that's why you'll see me out in the community quite a lot. I mean,
that was chief what you just said. You think that we're going to solve the problem of juvenile crime within the 4 walls of the community, of the courthouse, and that's not the case.
That's not. We can't do it there. We have to be actively involved in the community first, and then. Now, not saying the courthouse cannot resolve it. but we're playing catch up at that point.
Ah,
So we have to make sure we involve, give our youth opportunities, advice, mentorship. But then when they are in the courtroom, we have to give them that greater love and show them that this is not the end. We're going to provide every resource we can to make sure we restore you because, I mean, you are the future. We're not giving up on you. We're going to work with you until the end and make sure that everything is done properly so you do not have that pipeline from, okay, you got a juvenile charge till you graduate into adult court, from adult court to Department of Corrections. We're not going to have that. So we're going to spend that time, we're going to spend that attention, we're going to give you that love, we're going to give you the resources. We may have to give you that hard talk, but our goal is to make sure we get you back. Because someday I want someone to replace me to be able to say, you know what? I had a bump, I had a hurdle, but look at me now.
mm-hmm. Instead of the court, the prison pipeline, we're doing the court pipeline.
Court to the bench.
Court to bench pipeline. You know what?
America, whatever it is, that's what we're doing.
We might need to coin that phrase because you're up for a bid for re-election here in Durham.
Yes, I am.
With this upcoming election here on March the 3rd, right? And so with that coming up, we got a very interesting landscape here, right? And you've gotten the Durham committee's endorsement,
Yes,
right?
proud to have that.
Right? Proud to have that endorsement. And you got your candidate, Miss Marlott, Miss Christian Marlott. You know, how do you feel? How do you feel about this race? And what do you feel like you're bringing different to the table?
Yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer. This is the seat I hold now, but the seat belongs to the citizens. And what I believe I bring to the bench is experience. Any given day, I can have 16 courtrooms running from civil and criminal ends.
16 courtrooms?
16 courtrooms. We have a lot going on. And I've been I've been experienced and fortunate enough to be able to navigate through all of those courtrooms, from family to criminal to involuntary commitment to juvenile to traffic to first appearances. It doesn't matter. And that's why I say experience matters when we get those things resolved. As chief, I supervise the magistrates, scheduling, dress court closure, because, you know, this weather's been pretty chaotic this year.
Right.
So all of those things are what we do. And being able to work and navigate in those areas, I want to continue to serve and do those things because I've been able to work with our youth. I've been able to connect with those who've been justice involved. I've been able to make sure I bring closures to families who are in family court.
Right.
So I believe I have that broad experience and I want to continue doing those and continue to serve Durham as I have been doing for the past 23 years.
No, we appreciate that. Let's talk about if elected, how we're going to expand on this legacy that you're leaving behind. Have you put any thought into future efforts as far as like the trauma response in the courtrooms and a lot of that sort of care that you've been talking about? How do we expand on what you've done already?
One of the things that I want to get into, we have the Heart Team here in Durham County, which is a very fortunate, but a lot of times people come into the courtroom and you don't know what they're going through. And I had an unfortunate experience in one of my matters where I had to call the Heart Team to help an individual who was there in court. I would like to expand that program to see if we can have it in the courthouse to make sure if there's someone who having those issues, I can connect you straight to those resources there. Second, we have our A&D courts where a lot of times the parents are asked to do certain things and then they have court sessions and they're trying to work and then trying to get the treatment. I'm working with the county right now to get what we call our CRAVE system. It's like the Jetson Webb system, the courthouse. But we have it in juvenile courtroom, we have it in first appearance. But I want to expand it to our abuse and neglect courtroom as well as our domestic violence courtroom. Right. So that way we can make sure that we can capture those individuals who are in need of those resources, but they don't necessarily have to come to the courthouse. And we can expand what we're doing now on a greater service for those who are in need.
Now, we appreciate you giving us some insight or a peek, so you will, into the future plans that you have if reelected here from Durham. So to talk to our audience that want to find out more information about you or get involved with your campaign, tell them where they can find you and follow you at.
You can find me with Clayton Jones for Judge. That's my campaign webpage. Or you can just find me in the community. I try to be out serving to make sure I'm in the community, working with my community. And every given day, Monday through Friday, I will be in Durham County Courthouse presiding over our sessions in court.
There you have it, Clayton Jones. He's looking for your vote here in the Durham election coming up on March the 3rd Please remember, early voting is going on right now, and I think early voting ends on February 28th.
February 28th, that's correct.
That's the last day to get your early voting in. So please, at your earliest convenience, make sure you have your voice heard. Whisky Sticks and Politics audience, thank you so much for coming out. God bless you. Good night.
Right. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Whisky, Sticks, and Politics with Rashad Sullivan.
Before we pour our last round and we put the sticks down, let's take time for a very serious moment here, okay? Durham is our home, and home should be a safe place. But for many women in our community facing domestic violence, it is not a safe place. If you or someone you know is in that situation, you don't have to navigate it alone. The Durham Crisis Response Center is available 24/7 at 919-403-6562. Now, whether you need a place to stay, legal advice from legal aid, or just someone to listen, these resources are there for you. We talk a lot about policy on this show and the state of the world, but looking out for our neighbor is where the real work happens. Check the show notes for a full list of local links and numbers. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you next time on Whisky Sticks and Politics.